Okay, so today I want to talk about cleaning my personal raised garden, which is behind me. There's a couple flashing lights on it. We will talk about that as well. So if you have one of these and you want to know how to clean it, stay tuned and we'll get right to it. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am Carrie Martin, and I am just a city girl who wishes she was a country girl who is currently living in the burbs. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. I love micro homesteading. It is a passion for me to become more self-sufficient and grow more of my own food. I do take a little bit of a different spin on it by strongly incorporating hydroponics into what I consider micro homesteading, because for me it's just about growing food, and this allows me to grow food all year round. So if that is your thing, then be sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell so that you will know when I post videos in the future. Today, as I mentioned, we are going to clean my personal raised garden. There is a couple of flashing lights going on, and I will be talking about what those mean. There's also my epic cardboard stash over there, but that I won't be using until a little bit in the future when it's nicer out and I can build a couple of new raised beds, which is exciting, but not what we are talking about today. So let's take a closer look at the current situation in the raised garden, and then we will get to doing some cleaning and replanting, which is always fun. Okay, so first I have to show off my beautiful Habanada Pepper. I actually got the seeds from Row 7 Seeds. I will put a link in the description below. I really like them. I actually grew this in the personal raised garden, but everything else was done and I was going to need to obviously clean it. So I actually transplanted this to soil. I have another video on transplanting from My Aerogarden, but the technique is pretty much the same, so I will go ahead and put a link up above. Also, these, love these, my rise plant stands. Those are awesome. And my favorite thing has to be these guys, the seedless pods. I have a few of the pods that actually have the seeds in, but I love growing heirloom seeds, all my seeds, and I have so many different ones. And I love growing seeds. Here's a few of the seeds that I have. So I love using the heirloom seeds. They let me grow different things like African basil, and it just gives me a lot more opportunities with seedless pods to grow a variety of the different seeds that I have. I also have some beautiful rainbow chard that I've also grown hydroponically, and I have even grown Charentais melons hydroponically. I have a video on that too, so I will link that up above in case you are curious. But yeah, so seedless pods just give you the most options. But back to cleaning. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the blinking lights. And actually we'll talk about this. So this is your light button. It actually controls it. Let's see if we can get down here. So if we do this, I can hit it once, and that's actually going to dim the lights. And if I hit it again, it will turn them off. They will come back on for the normal cycle, or you can just turn them back on. Just in case you need to dim them, that is one of the things, in case you didn't know that. Another thing I should mention about this light button, press and hold it for 5 seconds. It's actually going to cause your pump to come on and run for about 5 minutes. So this can be really good to use when you're putting in nutrients. I want to make sure that they're fully circulated in the water. Go ahead and press that, let it circulate, and then you can go ahead, and if you're adding other nutrients or any pH or anything, you can do that again just to have it run and circulate through the system. So that's another good thing to know about that button. The next one, we have the green flashing light, and then we have the blue flashing light. So the green light is going to basically indicate that you need to add food into your system. And you should be getting alerts from your phone or iPad or whatever you're using with the app to let you know that it's time to add nutrients. Once you go ahead and clear that in the app, then this light will go off. This other blue light can mean a couple of things. So one of the things I've done, you'll see that I have the pump unplugged. But so this blue light typically is going to mean that your water level is low. And you can see mine is right down to the bottom, but I knew I was going to clean it. So I just let that go, and my pump's unplugged. So this isn't indicating right now that the water level is low. What it is actually indicating is that there's a problem with the pump. So this could be because it is unplugged and not in, or perhaps your pump is actually malfunctioning. So that's a good thing to know. It's a multi-purpose light. Here's some cleaning to do. I also like to clean the extra pots because you can see they get some residue of fruits and some other stuff. So we'll clean all of those. The one thing, because as I mentioned, I do also have an AeroGarden Farm Plus. I like both of them for different reasons, but one of the, the Rise Gardens win for looks, like hands down every single time. But the other thing they win for me is this. So to clean it, I literally lift it off. It's a flat piece of plastic. There's nothing there. I can scrub and clean both sides. To clean my AeroGarden, because it is a 2-piece unit, I actually have to separate those, which is a struggle. I have a video on cleaning my AeroGarden. I will link that up above as well, and you will see the difference. So absolutely love that this is so easy to clean. And then, yeah, don't mind the muck, but it is just an open area that we can just clean and scrub very, very easily. So big points for that. Okay, the other thing to mention is when your plants are done and you're cleaning out everything and you want to take them out. Unfortunately, I had already done that, but you'll have the pods in here and potentially like the old plants and the roots and everything. So go ahead and make sure that you compost those because you don't want to waste anything. Myself, I use a bokashi composting system. I will put the link in the description because I'm really loving that. Or if you have a regular compost or a vermicompost, you can go ahead and just add those in there. Okay, so when it comes to cleaning, there's 2 levels of cleaning. There's the ones after you've done a harvest, especially if you have things that harvest very quickly. So you can just sterilize everything with vinegar, fill up the grow bowl, and wipe everything down, all the plant pots, everything. So that's kind of like the quick cleaning. So I like to use the cleaning vinegar. This is the one I get. It's just stronger. It's about double strength to regular vinegar. I use it when I'm making any of my homemade cleaning products. So I make like an all-purpose cleaner and some stuff like that. So if you're interested in anything like that, I could put the link below and then you can check that out. So that's kind of a quick clean. But then you're also going to want to do every 3 months, you're going to want to do a deeper cleaning of the system. So this you can do, if you can time it with the harvest cleaning, great. If not, you can just kind of take out the plants. It's a good time to kind of check their roots, make sure you don't have any root rot or anything like that. If you are doing root trimming, you could do that at the same time. I don't. I am going to do an experiment with root trimming and I'll do a separate video on that. But right now I have never, in my 2 or 3 years of growing hydroponically, I have never trimmed roots. So I need to test it out myself before I can say whether I think it's a good thing to do or not. But if you love it and you're doing it, then that would probably be a good time to do that. So then what you're going to do is you're going to empty out the grow bowl. You're going to refill it halfway to the half line on your water level. And then you are going to fill it with warm water and a cup of vinegar. You're going to then press and hold the light button. As I mentioned up at the top, if you hold that for 5 seconds, it will cycle the pump. And you're going to let that cycle and run the vinegar all through the pump. Once that's done, then you can unplug your pump, turn off the garden, and you're going to disassemble everything the same way that you would or for the monthly cleaning. Okay, so then what you'll do is very carefully make your way over to the sink to dump the water and hopefully not dump it all over yourself, which I have done more than once. But anyways, carefully walk over to the sink and dump it. And then you're going to give it a thorough rinsing and just wipe everything down inside. Make sure you're not using anything too abrasive because you don't want to scratch the plastic, because as soon as you start doing that, it makes it easier for, other things to get in there, little grimies. You just want to keep everything as clean as possible. So just use a non-abrasive sponge. And then once that's all wiped down and everything's good, you can go ahead and I would suggest bringing the grow bowl back, resetting it into your system, and then filling it up with clean water. And that's about it for talking through it. Now we actually need to go through and do it. And I'll walk you through step by step. Coffee. So you may have noticed the lighting's different. That's because somehow I lost about 6 hours in between when I started filming the first part of this video and now. So yeah, just in case you're curious. So now it's time to actually start cleaning my personal rise garden. Okay, so there's none of the baskets in here. If this was an after harvest cleaning, just like a quick one, then I would just remove out the top piece and we'll take that over, and the side piece. And then I would just take out the sponge, this guy out. This because it can get a little gungy in there, and I'll take this off. Suction cups are fighting me. And I would probably just take out the whole pump just to give it a rinse, and then dump the water and wipe it out with vinegar. But we're going to be doing a more thorough clean, so I'm just going to leave this for a second and take the rest of it over to the sink. Okay, so I just have all the pieces in the sink here, and then I put all of the smaller pieces, the baskets, and the little hole covers in a bowl. And I'm just going to put a little bit of warm water in here, and I'll pour in some of the cleaning vinegar. So I'll probably just leave these to soak for a bit, and I'll move those over to the side. We'll just go and give these a clean. So I'm just going to grab the J-cloth. But pretty much you want something that's not going to scuff up the plastic at all. Just gonna make this wet. And then I'm gonna put some of the cleaning vinegar just on here. And I'm gonna give everything a good wipe down. So I would do this if it was an after harvest cleaning, or it's the full-on 3-month cleaning. I would go through and do this step either time, just to know that everything is super clean. The sponges I will deal with in a minute, and just wipe the pump down. It's also a good idea to just make sure that you're not seeing any muck in the pump. You can actually, if you have nails, pull this off. Just make sure that everything looks good and clean in there. And then afterwards, we're going to give everything a good rinse with warm water. The main thing that you want to remember is don't use any soap. You don't want any soap around this because it can leave residues, chemicals. It's just not what we want in and around our hydroponic systems. In my AeroGarden cleaning video, I talk about the other option that some people would do with using bleach. Honestly, I prefer to use the vinegar, especially for the rise gardens, because it's so easy to clean. If you're using the bleach, it just makes it a much longer process, which again, I go into in a lot more detail in the other video. So I'm just going to rinse these off, and then I'll lay them out to dry. Now, for the foam that goes around, this is still, my system's still pretty new. So there's not too much buildup on this. I'm just going to run this under warm water. Sometimes if they get gungy, I know this is what I do with my fish tank, is you can kind of rub them against each other just to help kind of break up if there's a lot of algae. But hopefully if your system's in balance, then you're not going to have much algae to deal with anyways, and just a quick rinse should suffice. All right, next we have these little guys. So same thing, just going to rub them down on all sides and the bottom, and also inside. And see where your roots got stuck on? Some of mine, the roots grew up around the top a little bit. I just like to make sure getting off any of that residue. Cleaning with the vinegar is also a great way to find out if you have any cuts on your hands. Apparently I do, because it stings just a wee bit. And then I will give them a good rinse under warm water. Okay, so those are all just air drying on the counter over there, so I'll leave those for a minute. I am now going to go get the grow bowl and carefully walk it over here. Actually, it shouldn't be too bad because the water was really low. I will wipe it down with just the vinegar in the tray. And if it was one of those after harvest, like quick cleanings, that was all you would need to do, rinse it well and then put it back and refill it. Because I am doing the full like 3-month cleaning, once it's cleaned out and wiped down with vinegar, then we'll move it back and I'll fill it and we'll go through the pump cleaning, and we'll see that in a second. Okay, so I made it over here with no catastrophes. So I'm just gonna run the warm water in here and just kind of wipe out as much of the residue and the muck that I can. One thing I do want to mention is when you're cleaning it, always flip it around the other way, because when I was doing that a second ago, it looked clean, but as soon as I flip it, I can see there's still a little bit of muck. So just make sure you look at it from both directions just to make sure that you've got everything. So now that that's done, I'm just going to pour a little bit of the cleaning vinegar in here and just make sure again that I'm going to wipe down all the sides, all the little ridges, get it in as much as you can. And then because this is the bigger cleaning, we're going to cycle it through this whole system anyways, but just make sure you're giving everything a coat with the vinegar. Taking the time to give this the attention it deserves hopefully helps prevent any issues in your system. So for me, it's not something I really want to rush. I want to make sure that I got everywhere. So let's rinse it off now. Take this back over and put it back in the system. So just in case if you weren't sure where it was, the fill line is noted right there. It's that line just around the ridges. Okay, so coming past the cardboard hole. And then, so the tray just sits in here on the two metal rails. So we can just push it back in. We're gonna have to take it out again, but we need to run it through the pump. So we'll put it back here. I'm gonna go fill it about halfway with warm water and get a cup of the vinegar. Actually, I will probably do about half a cup because I'm using the cleaning vinegar and it's double strength. Okay, so I was going to go and put the pump back together, and then I realized I forgot to clean the pump hosey thing. Anyways, one thing that I found from cleaning my AeroGarden is that a pipe cleaner is fantastic for getting into those little spaces and being able to help clean it. It's one thing to consider. I don't know how well it's going to work with this because it's got all the twists and turns, but we'll give it a try and see. So I'm just going to put a bit of vinegar and water onto the pipe cleaner and then run it through. So yeah, it's working pretty good. If I can get it all the way out, that would be perfect, but I don't think it's going to go around that last corner, which is fine. Just do that and then run it in the other way. Just helps to get some of the gunge out. We'll just run cold water through it. Now to go reassemble the pump. So I have it back in there. I've held the button down for 5 seconds to start the pump cycling. I haven't set it in properly, like the wires all dangling there, because I'm going to take it out again. But I'm just going to leave that to circulate the vinegar through. So I'm just going to leave that running for the 5 minutes that the pump will go for. And then we'll disconnect the pump again. We will rinse it all out with warm water and then put it together properly. So the one thing you will notice is now that the pump is plugged back in, the blue light is no longer flashing. Okay, so I just heard the pump click off. So I'm going to disconnect it and then take this back to the sink and just give it a final rinse. When you're putting the tube into the pump, just make sure you don't push it in too far, because that can actually, if it's in too deep, it can actually block the motor from running, and then you might be showing up with the blue light on here that your pump being broken. So that's one thing to just make sure, don't jam it in too far. Also, put the foam around the pump first. Then you can put the tube in. So when I'm putting this in, you can feed this here, and then there's a little notch right there that the cord can feed into. And if you feel behind, there's actually a little channel cut out at the back where the cord can nicely tuck away into. Just helps keep it all a little bit neater. And then I like to plug it back in and then finish feeding it up and out of the way. So that should be all of that. The other piece of foam on top there, just to kind of keep the pump all protected. And now we need some more water. All the water's back in, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the top piece on. We'll go ahead and put the little pump cover on, just fitting that notch around the wire. And then we will take a look at what seeds are going to go back in here. So if you were just here for the cleaning part of the video, that's done and that's over. That baby is good to go and have the plants put back in. If you want to stick around, I'm going to go through what I'm planning to plant and talk a little bit about seedless pods. And yeah, so let's get going. So seedless pods. These are my absolute favorite. Just empty grow pots. Now, I love these because if you've watched any of my other videos, I'm pretty sure in almost every single one, I talk about my undying love for heirloom seeds. I just find that these ones let me plant all the seeds that I have, and it's a lot. If you want to know how many, I will put a video up above to my seed organizing video, which, yeah, I have a lot of seeds. So these ones just allow me to use whatever I have, whether it's some that I've saved myself, this is some dill, or if it's some of the heirlooms that I typically get from, where is it? Baker Creek heirloom seed. So this is one of the ones I'm going to plant. It's the orange hat tomato. It's just a little one. So that will go in one of the seedless pods. I also have some stevia. I've never used stevia before, but I've been pretty curious about it. So if you've grown stevia and used it, let me know down in the comments below, how do you use it? I was wondering, I don't know if anyone's dehydrated it, because I was going to hopefully, once the Arctic tundra is gone from outside, when the blueberries come in, I was hoping to actually dehydrate blueberries, and I was thinking maybe to dehydrate some stevia with it, and then grind it up and to use it to put in my smoothies. The other one I'm going to put in is this Paris Island cause lettuce. This is another reason I love Baker Creek. You get a free seed typically with every order. I have some mini bell peppers. I love these. It's a mix of green, orange, red, and chocolate. I'm almost out of seeds, so I wanted to grow some of these as well so I can save some. That is another reason that I love heirloom seeds, because you can save the seeds. So you buy it once, and then you pretty much don't have to buy it again. I will put a link above to my seed saving video in case you're interested. I also have some strawberries that I'm going to put in, and along with the dill, I have some cilantro that I'm going to put in because I love it. Now, this is either a love-hate thing with cilantro. There's a lot, I believe they're called saponins that are in it. So for some people, it does taste like soap. I am not one of those people. And your love or hate for cilantro is determined by your genetics. So let me know down in the comments below if you're team cilantro or team no cilantro. So another thing that's good to know about when you are planting your pods in the Rise Garden, they're kind of grouped the plant into type A and type B plants. And that's typically based on how big they're going to grow or how bushy. So basically how much space they're going to take up. So if you're growing any of the group A plants, then you're typically going to want to only put in 4. And you're going to use the 2 outer holes on either side. If you're using group B plants, then you can pretty much go ahead and plant them all. Now, if you are combining A and B, the B's are going to go on one side using all 4, and then the group A's are going to go on the 2 outside that are left. Now, which ones are group A and group B? I will put down in the description below. I'll kind of put a listing of some of the group A plants and some of the group B. Based on that, you can kind of just judge. It does not cover all the plants that you could potentially grow hydroponically in the system. You just have to kind of use your gut if it's not on the list and determine what you think is going to work out best. While I am putting in the little tomatoes and the strawberries, which are things that are going to use blossom nutrients. The personal Rise Garden is, I would say, more for the leafy greens. So typically you're not going to be using the blossom because these are both dwarf varieties. I am going to go ahead and try them out in here and see how they go. But a lot of the flowering plants are going to work better, I would say, in the bigger Rise Gardens. Hopefully very soon be getting my 2-tiered family Rise Garden. So that will allow me to do a lot bigger plants than I can grow in the personal. But I always like to push boundaries. So I'm going to go ahead and try some of those in here. Typically when you would be starting new plants, you would put them in your nursery. This is the one that I have. Yours may look different. And you would do that because the seedlings, you don't want them to have any nutrients of any kind. Well, definitely not the blossom, but not any nutrients of any kind. So they're typically started in the nursery so that it's just water. Because I don't have anything growing in here and I'm starting from scratch, I'm just going to go ahead and put them straight into the garden. It's plain water in there right now. So that's how I'm going to start mine. I'm doing another video on the water testing and everything. I'm not going to get into that in this one because it's a whole other video into itself. So keep an eye out for that one. It will be coming. So the one thing I want to mention when you are using the pods is not, oh my God, I can't even get this one open. Struggling. This should not be that hard. I have bested the little cardboard box. When you get your little Rise seeds, they come in the pods with a little sticker on top. Do not take off the foil. I did that the first time, and then you have to go and put aluminum foil or something on top. What I like to do is I pull off the sticker, because what you want to do is you're going to want to make a hole in the center. Okay, probably not with a Sharpie, with something a little bit sharper. I'll try with a pen. That should work better. So you're going to want to make a hole in the center, because that's where the divot is with the seeds, and then just move it over. But you want to try and keep, I just want to do this without dumping out my seeds. You want to keep as much of the foil there, because what it's going to do is it's going to help prevent algae growth. Because if you have nutrients, water, and light, you're pretty much going to end up with algae. So with this, we are taking one thing out of the equation, because we need the water and we need the nutrients. All the plants need the light too, but the algae doesn't. So that's kind of why you're going to want to leave the foil on. And just kind of move the foil out of the way so the seeds can get to the light, and then you're good. Then it just goes into the little basket, push it down, and then you can pop it in. So what I'm going to do is go find my phone so that I can enter these into the app right away, so I know where they are, because I'm going to think I'm going to remember which one's which, and I'm not. I'm going to go into the Rise app and enter everything into the garden. I'm not going to go through how to use the app and how to set it all up. I talked about that in my other video where I got the nursery and set that up. So I will link that above if you just got your garden and you're just checking it all out, or you're looking ahead in anticipation of getting it. I would strongly recommend that you do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put my code down below. That will give you $50 off any of the family Rise gardens, not the personal one, but it does count towards the family. So I'll put that down below, and hopefully that helps somebody out and saves them a bit of money. I have the Stevia in there as my first plant. Going to do some of the lettuce, so I will need to make my way into the seedless pods. Besting another cardboard box. These ones obviously do not have a sticker on because there's nothing in them. So you can go ahead and make your hole, and then you can put in your seeds. I usually like to put in about 3 or 4 lettuce seeds into the little basket, and then I will just click it in to the garden. Lettuce and stevia are both group A, so those are the ones that can be planted closer together. So far so good. I think next I'm going to do the strawberries in another seedless pod. I'm going to treat it like it's a group A because they're not going to get huge, I hope, but I guess we'll see. These seeds are so tiny, of course, because they're strawberry seeds. So these ones are a little bit different. These are the Regina Strawberry, which is a European variety seldom seen in America. Intensely red, sweet, and very richly flavored. Fruit is much larger than most alpine berries. So that's those guys. So when I put in the strawberries, there was nothing similar that I could match it up to, because when you're making, in the app, you can put in a custom item, but it asks you to match it up to a similar one. So I had put in my Habanada peppers, the when I first set up the garden, and there was nothing similar, so I just chose another hot pepper. For strawberries, there wasn't anything, so I just put it in. Typically, they want you to do that so the app can give you information on when it's ready to harvest, when you should prune it, and all things like that. So try and get it as close as possible, but if there's no match, there's no match. And then just you have to pick something so that it'll let you continue. So the next one I'm going to do is the dill. This was actually dill seed that I saved from my own garden, which definitely cuts down on seed bills, but I just use it as an excuse to buy something new. So there's that. So I'll put in a couple of dill seeds. Dill can get really big too. That's when it's really handy to have these guys to help support your plant. And then they just go on with these little ties. I was playing with it. But yeah, the little ties, they loop around, and then they help to hold your taller plants up. So at some point, this will end up going with the dill and with the cilantro. Okay, so the only two I have left are some of the bigger ones. So I am going to treat these, well, these would be group B plants for me. So I'm going to put them over on the side. I'm pretty sure the pepper grows taller than this micro tomato. So I'm going to do the tomato in the front and the pepper in the back. So I am all out of seedless pods here, so I have to tangle with another cardboard box. These things should not be this hard to open. I think I'm going to go ahead and put in some dill and cilantro. Cilantro's one that a lot of people struggle to get it to germinate. Funny thing is hang on, I'll show you. This is typically what everybody's going, oh, you can barely see that. The cilantro seed there, little round ball. Okay, so I don't know if you can see in my hand. But so there I have the one at the bottom is the regular seed pod, and the ones at the top, I've gently crushed them open, and there are actually 2 seeds in each one. So if you crack them, like those 3 at the top there, you'll find that they tend to germinate better. So I'm going to put the 3 cracked ones into my pod. Okay, last 2. So we will do pepper in the back. For bigger plants like this, I typically put in 2 seeds and then usually have some sort of moral, ethical dilemma when I have to decide which one's the strongest one. And then I usually end up pulling out the weaker one if I can and trying to pot it in soil because I'm just a weakling when it comes to that. I hate having to waste a plant that would otherwise grow. This one, extra dwarf, it grows to just 6 to 9 inches high. So this only comes with 10 seeds in this package. So we'll put in 2. The great thing is, as long as I get a single tomato, I would have more than enough seeds to save. So that's my whole garden planted. So you see I have 1 empty space. So I will use one of my covers, the light out, because again, you get algae when you have water, nutrients, and light. So this takes the light out of the equation. Probably do an update video on that in a little bit so we can see how everything is growing. So that's it. All done, all ready to grow. So that's it. That is how I clean my personal rise garden and replant it with new seeds. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, please, because YouTube loves that. And then it will help me reach more people. So just remember, gardening is an adventure. And while there will be people that will say this is the right way to do things, this is the wrong way to do things, it's your garden, whether it's a hydroponic garden or an outdoor garden. So follow your gut, do what works for you, and just try and learn. And failing teaches us things. So just enjoy it. So until next time, go out there and make food grow.